Stress management. A U.S. news survey reports that 7 out of 10 people felt stress at some point on a typical weekday. 30% reported that they experienced a lot of stress. 54% in Prevention Magazine reported they felt that they had more stress in their lives than their parents did. People also reported that they lost their temper an average of 5 times a month. 56% reported that stress made them do something that they would later regret. About 75% of those who asked said that stress was preventing them from enjoying their lives more. Preventing them from enjoying their lives more. I guess you could say stress is a joy thief. Stress is part of our lives and is not going to disappear. It can only be managed, not eradicated. In other words, life has stress, but it can be managed. The effects of stress. About 50% of those surveyed said that stress is affecting their health. My personal estimation, based on years of experience, observation, and looking at research, I think is higher than that, but this is one particular survey. See, much is just never realized. 21% said that stress was negatively affecting their friendships. 19% said that stress was hurting their marriages. And I think that's even higher, but again, it's not recognized. 15% said that stress is affecting their performance at work. That would probably depend on the line of work. Aircraft controller, policeman, sometimes social workers, CPS workers, I bet it's a whole lot higher. Physical symptoms of stress: tiredness, fatigue, lethargy, heart irregularities such as palpitations, racing pulse, rapid, shallow breathing, muscle tension and aches, shakiness, tremors, tics, twitches, heartburn, indigestion, nervousness, dry mouth, excessive sweating, clammy hands, cold hands, nail biting, overeating or loss of appetite, sleep disturbances, increased use of alcohol, drugs, and medications. Some of the psychological signs of stress are irritability, impatience, anger, hostility, worry, anxiety, panic. Worry, anxiety, panic. Stress can be self-perpetuating because of how we interpret it, how we manage it. Do we keep letting it reoccur in our thoughts and minds? We're going to talk about how to short-circuit that. Moodiness, sadness, feeling upset, intrusive and racing thoughts, memory lapses, difficulties in concentrating, indecision, frequent absences from work, lowered productivity, feeling overwhelmed, loss of sense of humor. That is true, but it's also tragic. Because ironically, humor is one of the greatest defenses. One of the greatest defenses against stress. Incredibly so, actually. Stress can affect your immune system. Researchers have labeled this area of study as psychoneuroimmunology. This is a study of relationships between moods, emotional states, hormonal levels, and changes in the nervous system and the immune system. Stress, particularly chronic stress, can compromise your immune system and render it less effective against disease or the resistance against its progression. Which means if you have a disease, it can be accelerated. It will be accelerated by stress if it's strong enough and chronic enough. But also increases the chance of becoming ill, sick, or acquiring a disease. All that being said, can stress be good? A researcher by the name of Hans Selye has coined the term eustress, which means there is a positive stress. It can be a positive force in our lives. Example, solving an interesting problem or falling in love can be an example. Someone's going to say, wait a minute, Falling in love is not stressful. I wouldn't have thought so, but that's what the research says. I guess all that's involved with it, I guess, actually can be stressful. Change is stress and life is change. Stress can be addicting. Some research suggests that part of the addictive quality some people feel from stress may be more than just psychological. It may be that people can become hooked on the adrenaline secretions that occur during a stress response. Like other addictions, this adrenaline excess in our systems may be experienced by some people as pleasurable, but as it continues, it will also be very destructive. Warning: this type of stress is dangerous because it is chronic. Even though it seems to be pleasurable, it will wear out our minds and wear our bodies down. Stress often comes from our emotions. The strongest degrees of stress come from strong emotions like anger, bitterness, resentment. That lowers your immunity. Research has shown that people who have long, chronic periods of bitterness have a much higher rate of cancer and heart disease. Understanding stress using the ABC formula. And it's sort of simple, but like a lot of things in the counseling field, they aren't always easy to do. They're doable, but they're not easy. It takes work. Ironically, stress takes work. When I'm really stressed, I get tired. I wear myself out being stressed. So if you're going to put the energy into something else, something positive, reverse it, good heavens, why not? Understanding stress using the ABC formula. A is the activating event or potential stressful situation. It's the action, the activating event. And then B is the belief system we have, or the thoughts or perceptions that we have about the event. And then C is a consequence or result of this. Sometimes we can change the event, the stressor, like I'm cutting back on some of my workload because I was too busy and I was physically feeling the stress. Sometimes I go through the day and I kind of feel like I got punched in the chest. And I knew the feeling, but I hadn't felt it in years. It was hard to laugh. I didn't feel much like laughing. I was feeling stress. But at least, thank God, I know enough from teaching this and counseling this that, hey, this is stress. So I was able to change some things and manage my time differently, and I am feeling 100% less stress in a matter of weeks. This is not always possible. But your thinking process, your thoughts, that can always be altered. And there's many ways we're going to talk about that, how that can be done, by changing your thoughts. And I'm doing that as well, and I'll share more of what I've done there. And the results is less of the consequences or the symptoms of stress that I just shared a moment ago. We cannot always change our situation, but we can always change our thoughts and ultimately redirect our emotions and improve our immunity and personal resolve as a result. Awareness of where your stress comes from and analysis in determining the best way to manage this stress. This is called the AAA approach. Awareness, analysis, and then action. Now the action is determining what you can do. Okay, there's relaxation techniques. If you're not sure what that is, that can be as simply as sitting somewhere, relaxing your body, taking a deep breath, hold it 1 second, 1001, let it out slowly. Do that 2 or 3 times. And if you're able to from there, think on anything positive. anything hopeful, anything encouraging, anything you're glad for. I'll share a little paradox with you here to hopefully to encourage you. Is maybe the problem on a scale of 1 to 10, right? Maybe the problem seems like a good strong 9. And maybe something you're thankful for only feels more like a 4. Mystery. If you focus on this 4 enough, block this out temporarily, momentarily, and focus on this 4 enough that you're thankful for, something will begin to happen in your entire being. Spiritually, but also biologically, physically, and emotionally, is this becomes stronger and this becomes weaker. And pretty soon, this is a 9 and that's a 4 in your mind. So extra stress will be reduced. Difficult? Yes. But doable? Very. Changing your environment when you can. Change thinking patterns, your self-talk. We'll discuss that more later. Prayer. There's been research that I don't think I have with me right now, but when I may cover it later, maybe in there, I don't recall. But when people pray for people that have hurt them, it reduces their stress, their anger, their resentment. But like laughing when you're under stress, praying under stress, you don't feel like it. Let me give you a classic example. When people are very, very depressed and despondent, the last thing in the world they want to do is put on a pair of track shoes. That's the last thing. They don't have the energy. Ironically, if they put on those track shoes and went for a good walk, when they come back 20 minutes or more later, they'll feel much better. And it's much cheaper than Prozac.
Yeah. Don't need a prescription.
No, you don't need a prescription. Very true. This is research, folks. Of course, if it sounds like it's correlated with the New Testament, it certainly is correlated with the New Testament. It's amazing. That's why I think the Lord in His Word said, pray continually and give thanks in all things. Not for all things, in all things. Pray continually and give thanks in all things. There's a reason for that. He knows how we're made. Plus, prayer gives Him a door to enter into our lives as well. Talking with someone, that can help reduce stress. Exercise, I mentioned. Change focus. Distracting yourself. One of the biggest enemies to stress management is expecting quick results. I meant to cover this a few moments ago. I'm going to cover it. I'll back up and cover this now. It's research that has been done, and I think this is very interesting. I love research. Weird, but I don't know. Okay, stress management. Positive thinking. It says the title, Reduce Stress by Eliminating Negative Self-Talk. This is done by the Mayo Clinic, which is one of the top medical clinics and research areas in the entire world. The United States has some of the best medical facilities in the world. I think it's because of economics. Nevertheless, it's not the best in the world. They said, positive thinking helps with stress management and can even improve your health. Is your glass half empty or half full? How you answer this age-old question about positive thinking may reflect your outlook on life, your attitude towards yourself, and whether you're optimistic or pessimistic. And it may even affect your health. Some studies continue with the Mayo Clinic research here. Some studies show that personality traits like optimism and pessimism can affect many areas of your health and well-being. The positive thinking that typically comes with optimism is a key part of effective stress management. If you tend to be pessimistic, don't despair. You can learn positive thinking skills. It continues. Understanding positive thinking and self-talk. Positive thinking doesn't mean that you keep your head in the sand and ignore life's less pleasant situations. Positive thinking just means that you approach the unpleasantness in a more positive and productive way. You think the best is going to happen, not the worst. Positive thinking often starts with self-talk. I read somewhere that a person has about 70,000 thoughts in their minds every day. Wow. I would have guessed maybe a couple hundred, but God, 70,000. I see our minds going all the time. Self-talk is the endless stream of unspoken thoughts that can run through your head every day. These automatic thoughts can be positive or negative. It is not easy but doable. Remember that. It's not easy, but it's doable. We are in control of that. But we can learn. We can reprogram. Take work. Some of your self-talk comes from logic and reason. Other self-talk may arise from misconceptions that you create because of lack of information or past experience and training and experience and things you learn. It may cause erroneous conclusions. If the thoughts that run through your head are mostly negative, your outlook on life is most likely pessimistic. If your thoughts are mostly positive, you're likely to be an optimist, someone who practices positive thinking. Really quick here. One theorist came up with this. If you can manage to have about 51% of your thoughts being positive or encouraging, compared with 49% pessimistic or negative thoughts, you've tipped the scale. But this is really, I think a person can do more than this just by catching your thoughts of anger, catching your thoughts of bitterness or resentment, or worry, or fear, or concern. Catch them and say to yourself, stop. And then have a plan of a little list of things you're thankful for and shift immediately and focus on that 4% so it can now become a 9. And 9 can now become a 4. It's doable. It takes practice. But very doable. The health benefits of positive thinking. This is research from the Mayo Clinic. Researchers continue to explore the effects of positive thinking and optimism on health. Health benefits of positive thinking may include increased lifespan. Increased lifespan. The Bible says, as a man thinks, so is he. As a man thinks, so is he.
That's true.
Criticalness, bitterness, resentment, anger, fear, worry, doubt, that becomes who you are. Happiness, joy, hopefulness, faith, positive thoughts, optimism, that becomes who you are. Much of both can be, well, the negative side can be masked to a point, but you can't fool your body. It'll tell later. But people who are close to you, of course, the mask will be taken off. So see it or they'll hear it. Okay, lower rates of depression. Lower levels of distress. Greater resistance to the common cold. Better psychological and physical well-being. Reduced risk of death from cardiovascular disease. Better coping skills during the hardships and times of stress. I'd like to read a little more research here if I can find it. I'm going to skip it right now. One of the biggest enemies to stress management is expecting quick results, I just mentioned a moment ago. It took years to create your stress-producing styles and patterns. Fortunately, changing these patterns take a lot less time, but it still takes some time and effort. A long journey begins with a single step. this is what I, to a degree, to a point, this is what I feel is one of the things I've discovered in counseling. Many times people only apply these principles if they believe in them. Like somebody's figured, oh, it's easy for you to say, but I tried it. But have they tried it diligently, consistently, and correctly? Because when you start to see results, but then they're kind of like the thing where they want it done tomorrow and get discouraged. But if they're not discouraged and they believe in this technique, and the research is copious, not to mention the New Testament, it's been there for thousands of years, they'll see results. About as far as they want to go. Especially with God's help, through prayer, especially. All the more. Okay, distracting yourself to deal with stress. Sometimes you can just distract yourself. Watching TV or a movie. But not a scary horror film. That will increase your stress. Now, I'm guilty of this, so we won't go there. But I like watching the news. So we won't go there. Reading a book. In fact, I skipped the research on purpose because of limited time, but reading reduces stress. I think, according to research, because it helps you refocus and shift your thoughts to something else. What if you're reading Scripture? New Testament is very encouraging. Very encouraging. Or reading a comedy, fiction, biography. Anything you enjoy is going to reduce your stress, whether you're interested in it. Say, well, I like reading on science. Doesn't matter. It'll reduce your stress, because you're shifting your thoughts. Talking to a friend. Work or play on a computer. Playing a sport. Immerse yourself in a hobby or a project. Listening to music. That's a study all by itself. Music is amazing. Real quick, I want to share something with you. Research that they've done. And so I'll do some memory. I don't have it in front of me right at the moment. They have experimented with water freezing. And we're talking about the effect music can have on us biologically now. When classical music was played and water froze, and then they examined the frozen particles under a microscope, it was made up of like beautiful, symmetrical, like a snowflake, beautiful. When they played the hard, heavy rock, and they studied the water that was frozen, it was disorganized, no symmetry at all.
Because it's frozen.
Think what it can do to a person's cell for a prolonged period of time. Yeah. My only point is this: if you have an illness, try to listen to classical. It actually affects your physical being. See, music is a vibration. Vibrations have an impact on living organisms. I'm getting way off the lesson now. This is research, folks. Some is common sense, but I'll go a little step further. Every living organism has energy. That's obvious, we know that. But every living organism, whether it's a plant or whether it's a person, and everything between, the energy it has can be measured, and sometimes through special photography and laboratory through certain laboratory instruments with long names, they can see it on camera, the energy that emanates from you. Physics. Looking at atomic activity, etc. The energy people emanate continually because you're alive, okay? When you feel angry and upset and bitter, a certain energy is observed. When you feel loving and compassionate, another energy is observed. But your emotions are kind of like the throttle that determines how strong it will be, both ways. So in a sense, we are subject to our emotions, but the beautiful thing is we are in control of our emotions. We can be, with work and a plan. I'm making sense. Okay. Oh, way off there. Okay, where was I? Okay, think of something you are looking forward to. Say, well, there's nothing positive in my life now. Are you breathing? Well, no one loves me. Did Jesus love you? Did your great Aunt Tilly 30 years ago, before she passed away, did she love you? Focus on her. So there is a way. You can do it. You have to work at it. Personal preferences, prayer, exercise. So that's what I do. Prayer, exercise, self-talk. Be careful with the exercise. Okay. When I say exercise, I'm not talking about running a marathon. Just move. Just move. Gardening? Yeah. Walking a few extra 100 feet into HEB? Yeah. Just move. Okay. Thought stopping and thought substitution. Stop your thought. Willfully say stop. That'll give you a few split seconds to do something with that ceasing. Note your thought and replace your thought. Examples. Think of something you're thankful for. Think of something you're looking forward to. Use self-imagery and see what you're thankful for. Does everyone here have one person, place, or thing they're thankful for? Okay, and just quickly, this is what I'm going to ask you to do. For 5 seconds, you're going to close your eyes and just see the person, place, or thing, past, present, or future, that you're really thankful for. Just do that, please. Close your eyes and think of the person, place, thing you're thankful for. See them, or it, or the place. See it. Okay, open your eyes. You can do it. You just prove me. You can do it. It's that easy. Yes.
I've had a really hard time sleeping in the evenings and well at night, and you know I have been told take deep breaths and count. Well, I can't shut my brain off, Doctor. I start counting, and then before I know it, I'm at 3 or 4 maybe if I get that far, and my thoughts will veer off, and I'm like, okay, where was I? I have to start over again. 1, 2, 3. I cannot keep my focus long enough to even count. And I'm thinking, okay, what else could I do? My eyes are closed, I'm taking deep breaths. Do I need to write the numbers down so I can physically see them in front of me to try to gear my focus more towards counting?
Yeah, thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing that. Because that's a common problem many people have. They're dealing with a lot of stress and whatnot. Let me speak to you after the lesson because, no really, I'd love to. Anyone can stay after if they'd like to, after we're done recording. Because I'll take you, I'll see where you're at already, and I'll take you from there. There's some things you can do. Yeah, I see the hand already. There are some things you can do which can help. And just think in terms of it'll take time and small steps, but it is very doable. And I will share it with you. All you have to do is kind of retrain. Thinking's fine, it's what you think on. And so I'll help you with that. That's a very good question. But getting to a point where you're truly relaxed, and then shift your minds to something positive or at least neutral will reduce your stress. And as your stress is reduced, the quality of your sleep should increase. Even into the next day. Don't have time to get into that. So that's a good question. Yes, ma'am.
Just a response to her. I was just reading that counting sheep or whatever is really kind of counterproductive. What is really more helpful is to put yourself in a calm place, like at the beach or somewhere that, you know, that you enjoy being, instead of maybe you have stress when it comes to math, so.
Maybe it's just putting you in our school teaching
Thank-
problem.
So it's better to think on, you know, just a relaxing, calming,
Well, what do you,
place than
yes,
than
thinking on a
words.
relaxed, calming place. Well, actually, what you're sharing is classic and well researched. But I'm just having trouble getting there, and so I have some thoughts on how to get there. But yeah, if you can relax your body first physically, focusing on that alone is you're reducing your stress. And then start thinking of a positive environment, a positive place. Seeing yourself there can be incredibly relaxing, incredibly stress reducing. And that's actually well researched too, by the way. But sometimes when your thoughts are going 180 miles an hour, it's just, and you can't find the darn brake, then instead, there's a way of putting it in neutral and coasting till you stop. And that's what I try to do with shifting to another activity, which is still mentally active, but it's just from negative to positive. And by reducing stress, you can also reduce this insomnia, I believe.
It's really helpful, like if you have, you know you've been healed of something, but when the symptoms start coming back, that thought-stopping thing is really important because, you know, you can, I think you can lose what you've gained if you allow those thoughts to reoccur. So if you just, you know, stop, I am healed, and then you can recite a scripture that pertains to the situation, but you can't let your thoughts go there, or I think you'll be back in the same, probably physical situation.
Yes, and thank you, and if I could rephrase that another way, basically when a person has recovered or is recovering from an illness or an injury, whatever, their thoughts have a lot to do with, number one, if they'll be completely healed, and two, if they'll keep their healing. Let's say you have that predisposition biologically for certain weakness or illness, it's often going to reoccur. But through their thought stopping, the negative, and focusing, initiating positive thoughts, even towards being the healing that they have, focusing on that, the immunity will go up. And I want to share something too, and I mean this with all sincerity. Don't underestimate the power of immunity. I have heard, I've seen people, but also heard people that, not to mention the research, that, see, the human body was designed to heal itself. Our Creator, God, created our bodies in a certain way where it's designed to heal itself. And there's so much more power in the natural. Divine intervention is unlimited. But short of divine intervention, the body itself can heal itself from what is seemingly miraculous through our emotional states. Our immunity level is raised as a result of our emotional states, levels, or states. So you open a whole big thing here, which I'm going to touch more on December 2nd. But you're right. Thank you.
Brother?
Yes.
I just wanted to make a comment on insomnia. Sometimes when I wake up 2 or 3 in the morning and I have trouble going back to sleep, what's helped me is that I start to focus on the Lord and I start to focus on His promises, that He is a Father of peace and love, and then I just, any scripture that just comes to my mind, I just start to meditate on it over and over, or a prayer, the Our Father, whatnot. And I found that just helped me tremendously.
Thank you, Gilbert. Prayer and meditate on Scripture, absolutely. Another thought popped in my mind too. Now, I'm not trying to push classical music, but it's one of the most that's so. Listen, hey people, the music that came down that came about between 1956 and 1963 rocks. Say, what is that? Well, you're not as old as I am. Believe me, the Temptations, the Imperials, the Four Tops, Frankie Valli, and the Four Seasons, etc., etc. Who are they? Don't worry. But the point is, if I want to really relax and build my immunity up, research is showing classical music. Really. So try that when you want to sleep. You know what helped me sleep one time though? Was playing before CDs, cassette on scripture. It helped me sleep. Right, because it's relaxing. But whatever. Okay. This may be, thank you everyone for your contribution. This may be very difficult at first because you will have to see yourself differently than you feel. We're talking about seeing yourself more relaxed can help you actually become more relaxed. Do this mechanically first, and then in time it will become easier and produce positive feelings that fit the image in your mind. You see yourself calm, relaxed, or in a state of being that way, do it mechanically. Forget about having to feel it before you think it. And pretty soon you're focused correctly. Over time, you start to feel what you're seeing in your mind. As a man thinks, so is he. Some people use prayer and praise to deal with stress. Prayer takes a different perspective and shifts one's attitude. This is research. Oh, this is research, folks. And praise is thanksgiving for what is important in your life. This can be a shift of perspective as well. They've done some research, and this is secular research, objective research, on spiritual issues, and this one is on spirituality and stress. Cancer. It's become a household world in modern society. Cancer. People who attend religious services more frequently tend to be less likely to succumb to cancer. This is based on statistics, even when taking into account age and gender. Respondents who attended religious services frequently tended to have lower cancer mortality rates than peers who attended less frequently, controlling for age and gender. Stress. Individuals who attend religious services more frequently exhibit, on average, lower levels of stress than peers who attend less often. Psychological health. People who frequently participate in religious social activities and pray with others are less likely to exhibit depression, anxiety disorder, and phobia. Life satisfaction. Individuals who regularly attend religious services are more likely to say that they are very happy with their lives and optimistic about the future.
Brian, can I use an example?
Yes, please.
My name's Bill, and I've been taping him for about 2 years already. So I've heard some of these lessons.
Several times.
Couple things that I've learned in the past 2 years, being in his class, living my life, and seeing some of the strategies. I'll be in front of my classroom, I'm a teacher, and I will feel down. And I will stop myself and say, why do I feel down? What happened that set me off or put me off track? Because I'm usually a really happy guy, and everybody, calls me that happy guy. And then I'll remember, oh, it's because I just got an email about a parent that wants to see me about her son. And naturally, as teachers, any parent wants a conference, we feel stress. All right, that's it. I did something wrong. They're going to come in here. And then his strategy is, no. Don't be thinking negative. Be thinking positive. Remember, you're both on the same team. Both of you want this kid to do very well in class. Don't be thinking negative about the situation, because every time you've met with a parent in the past, it's always been a positive experience, not negative. So change your thought process, and that changes everything about your body. And then you feel it and it lifts, and you're like, all right, I'm good. Let's get back to it.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you very much. Self-talk leads to the direction of our thoughts, and that affects everything else. Physically, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, whatever. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Catastrophizing and awfulizing. Believe it or not, most of your stress, as a rule, is self-created. Catastrophizing or awfulizing is making a mountain out of a molehill. My father used to say, don't worry about something before it happens because it probably won't happen anyway. You know he's right. Overgeneralizing. Thoughts like this, having thoughts like this is overgeneralizing. No one here knows how to drive. No one likes me. I can't do anything right. Everything goes wrong for me. There is something called self-fulfilling prophecy. When you have those thoughts, you're continually programming yourself. In that sense, you will begin to follow your thoughts. That's research. If you believe your thoughts, according to research, if you believe your thoughts, they can direct and often direct your life, even shorten it, depending. Self-talk, as Bill was alluded to really beautifully, self-talk is one of the most powerful ways of reducing stress. In fact, it is one of the most powerful ways of changing your entire life. We talk to ourselves continually without even realizing it. This can be in the form of visual pictures, mental rehearsal, we can rehearse a stressor happening over and over again, or we can rehearse how we'll handle it a better way in the future, or how it worked well in the past, and also mental reenactment with words, as I was referring to. Examples of self-talk messages. Thoughts like this: is it really worth getting so angry about? This is a positive way, a message you can say to yourself. Or something like this: my getting angry is not going to help anyone. Let it go. It's not worth the emotional effort. I refuse to let my immunity lower because of what someone else has said or done. I refuse to let my immunity lower because of what someone else has said or done. Healing emotionally from stressful situations. How do you actually heal and become strengthened through stressful thoughts? Or heal emotionally through stressful thoughts and situations? Asking this question, what can I learn from this? Or what have I learned as a result of this difficulty? I'll give you a personal example in a moment. The second question is then, once you determine something you've learned or some way you've benefited in the difficult situation, second question, what have I learned or how have I changed that I can use to help myself or someone else in the future? Everybody can find something if you wish to, if you're willing to. And if you find that something, hold on to it. It's amazing what you can heal from. In 2001, I was in a serious car accident. According to the newspaper, I was dead in the scene, or they thought I was. It was a head-on collision. I got hit by two cars. If you're a little bit curious, I was minding my own business. I was coming home from church. How innocent does it get? I was coming home from church on the right side of the road, as always. Maybe going a little below the speed limit, as always. Used to drive my kids nuts. Used to try to push my foot in the pedal. Come on, Dad, speed up. That was good. Anyway, nevertheless, the person hit me. There was a death. There was an injury. I thought I was dead in the scene. And I had several broken bones. Crushed right foot, broken right ankle, broken right knee. A rib cage that felt like King Kong stepped on it. Broken nose, broken cheekbone, chipped teeth. But most seriously, a traumatic brain injury. And the traumatic brain injury that I had, I was responding to people, so they tell me, I literally have no memory for 11 days. They said I was trying to even pray for them, but I could never get through the prayer. I lose the words. At least I tried. But I have no memory for 11 days. Actually, when I got home, my wife thought it was like talking to a robot. Anyway, I had what's called traumatic brain injury with subdural hematoma. That's bleeding of the brain. For a while, they couldn't even stop the bleeding. For a while, they almost sent me up to Houston. Of course, when a person hits their head, I'm going somewhere with this. When a person hits their head hard enough and there's a brain injury, it's called a concussion. It's called a coup. But when a person hits their head and that causes their head to hit another object, and that's like a double concussion, both sides of your brain, that's called contra coup. I had several of those. I think I'm a miracle because of people's prayers, personally. Anyway, back to what I was going with that. So what the heck did I learn from that? Staying on the right side of the road, I was. Staying within the speed limit, I was. Being sober, except for being happy about the church service, I was really sober. Really, I mean, really. So what I learned from that, okay, I want to share with you how this can work. I learned, or was reminded of, that life is a precious gift. I learned that every moment of life is precious. I didn't quite see that clearly before. How can I use this to help others? I do actually. I care more, and I'm more understanding when others have a physical disability of any kind. I have much more compassion and love for them and concern for them than I ever had before because of what I experienced. And one of the things that's added to that sensitivity and that awareness is that I don't want to spend too much time on this. When I got back from the hospital, my memory started coming back, I think because of prayer. You realize statistically I should be a vegetable? I should be a living vegetable, statistically. Because if you don't have your memory coming back in 2 or 3 days, your brain's shot. Mine was 11. Your brain's shot, statistically. I thank God and prayers of this church for that. But as that being said, when I got home, it was a process. I had trouble reading. Big 2-syllable words. What does that mean? But I kept reading and praying, reading and praying. I'd forget my address. I'd forget my phone number. I'd forget loved ones' names. I forget my wife's birthday. You don't ever do that. I forgot my anniversary. You never do that, guys. Never. That's the 11th and 12th commandment. Never do that. It was a process. But thank God for prayers, whatever, and all. And so the point is, that whole process made me more compassionate and loving and concerned and sensitive to other people's wounds and hurts, not just physically, but emotionally. I grew with that. I grew with that exercise. So that's a good example. Okay. I'm going to go over just a few minutes. If someone has to leave, I understand it's okay. But I'll go a few more minutes because I really want to try to get this right now. I didn't want to miss this part. This is the fun part. This is not the part where I said I'll be asking for a volunteer. Relax. You can breathe. If I have anger towards someone else, a lot of anger, and if it could become tangibly observable, it would look like chains. If I felt, sorry about the microphone, if I felt bitter and resentful, a lot of bitterness, it would look like this. Okay. If I had a lot of fear, hate. Sorry, Mr. Microphone. It looks something like this. The microphone was designed for this. This is what it looked like. Someone has said unforgiveness can be a strength. Bless their precious hearts. Bless them. Everybody's right to their own opinion, but I think they don't understand forgiveness. They don't understand it. How is this a strength? How is this a strength? Who's changed? Me or the person I'm angry at? So how is it a strength? I'll try to stand still if I can. Forgiveness is underrated. We're still talking about stress reduction, everyone. Forgiveness is for you, not the other person. Forgiveness is a success, not a failure, a victory, not a defeat, and a strength, not a weakness. In a study conducted recently at Hope College in Holland, Michigan, psychologists explored the effects of forgiveness on people's stress levels. They looked at their levels of stress when they were in a non-forgiving mode and compared those stress levels to when the same people were in a forgiving mode. The amount of stress was considerably greater when the subjects were entertaining revenge rather than forgiveness. Forgiveness can come about by our self-talk and what we choose to say to ourselves. There's been some research that even praying for those that have hurt you and wounded you, start out mechanically, you don't have to feel it. Forget about letting your feelings guide you because that will be misleading. Just do it, the feelings will follow. And when you start praying for those that have hurt you, this is clinical research, hurt you, wounded you, offended you, whatever, then your stress level reduces because you begin to forgive them. And through the thought patterns, and also through prayer, this can begin to diminish more and more, and your immunity will go up. I need somebody helping with this. I don't know what just happened. I must have unforgiveness. I thought I was okay. Anyway, thank you, Bill. Thank you. Since I'm going to try to close a little bit here. What I'm going to say is short, it's concise, and it's going to sound like a quick, nice-sounding cliche with very little application, but it's not true. The key is you have to believe it. If you believe it, then you can apply it consistently and correctly. If you can apply it consistently and correctly, you will see near miracles. And that's a fact. The ABC formula, you take the event, if you can't change the event that's causing the distress, then change your thinking patterns through self-talk, distracting yourself. Prayer is powerful. I recommend that for everyone. And you'll see a difference in the results. I'm going to close with this quickly. I alluded to it earlier. I'll go into a little more detail. And it's off the top of my head because I don't have research in front of me. I will, I think, second. They did some research in a medical school. Actually, it was a medical facility that specialized in training physicians to become surgeons. And it looked at many of the patients that were dying of terminal diseases where there was no cure evidence. Cancers, tumors, etc. What they discovered was they had what they call double-blind study, control group, all that. But the people that were worked with and were able to forgive anything and everything in their lives, there was a significant proportion or number of those that had incurable cancers and diseases healed seemingly miraculously. Just do that. My only point is, God, our divine creator, creator of bodies, to a point, to a great point, to heal ourselves, or to heal itself. And that's how powerful forgiveness can be. I'm not taking anything away from divine intervention. It happens. I've seen it. I've experienced it. But even short of divine intervention, we're incredibly wonderfully made, as King David said in the book of Psalms. We're fearfully and wonderfully made. Okay, I'm going to close with that. I want to thank everybody for being here. And we're meeting again December 2nd. And we're going to more this kind of research a lot. It's going to be fun. So I want to invite everybody for being here.